Okay, Cummins project. I've got the fuel tank, the main fuel tank, which is out of a 2150, but I believe it's the same as the 1355. As a reminder, I got to get it to fit where it originally goes, which is tight. Nonetheless, I'm going to make it fit, but it is tight. I did sand down and grind the edge. I have a couple adjustments to make in here. I have the dash tilted back to help me. And I got measurements made, and I've modified the factory bracket. I was just going to use angle, but I'm going to try to use this. So I just got to double check my side-to-side measurement. I already have my line across the front where I want it to be held at, which you can kind of see a silhouette of the tank. So I'm going to get my side-to-side measurement in here, which it's not exactly centered, but we'll get her measured up, tack it in place. I'll remove this, what I'm just calling a firewall, and weld it, shoot some paint on it, and put it back in so I can install this tank once and for all, I hope. With any luck, I don't have to pull it out 5 dozen more times. But that's part of doing custom work. And then I'll hook up the fuel system permanently. I'll have to put a T up here and do my fender tanks and my return from the injection pump, which is right here. So because I sanded down this lip here, see, this is where it's kind of rolled and welded. You see this little knurling? Well, there's also some sealant in there, or I don't know if it was, trying to think what it is. Can't remember what type of seal might have been used there to help during that process, but basically I'm grinding this down with a flap wheel. I did it on this side, and I wanted to verify that I didn't have any leaks, because as you get closer to that, you could cause, I don't know if there's lead. Was lead also used in there or not? I can't remember. I wasn't alive when they did that. But I have seen some on other tanks, fixing them from leaking, that, you might weld here to clean up or put a new bottom in a tank, and you see like lead come out, and then it leaks, and then you're chasing leaks. But this tank, it's far from perfect, but it's real nice and clean inside. It's been repaired. Like, here's a repair. But that being said, I put a couple inches in the bottom here and flipped it up, and it's been on here for days with diesel fuel setting on it. So I've just been feeling around the bottom, looking, checking for anything, and it is good. So I'm gonna get the diesel fuel out of it, and I feel confident enough to go ahead and put it. Now we get the tank full, maybe it'll show me a leak, but for now that's a good test, and I feel pretty good about that. And I had already cleaned up another common leak is around the water trap. I'd already cleaned it all up and then did epoxy, and I always use the water trap if I can. Make sure you drain the water out of here. So I was doing that. Now I'm ready to get that touched up with some paint where I ground down and get it put in, because again, if I don't run this main tank, which there has been suggestions just to run the fender tanks, I would not have a fuel gauge or a sending unit. And I got a brand new one to put in there, a new cap. So let me get that tack welded here, get you put in a position to maybe see that. Then I'll get this removed and get her welded up and put back in. Got it removed off the tractor and set here on the bench. Got some stuff prepped and cleaned here and got my lines marked. Basically, it's nothing too fancy. Get it welded in place, and we'll shoot some paint on it and get her put back in. So Let me get to it. Well, got her tacked on there. That'll definitely hold it. And that's using the factory mount, so that'll be nice. So now I will I'm gonna put a couple washers down here where my mounting hole is, and then it is gonna work out just fine. So let me do that. I'll shoot some paint on this and I'll get it put back in the tractor. Fuel tank's draining, and I will get her put in there. Well, she's on there and painted. Don't look too bad. Kind of still goes with the black and yellow theme. And decided to let that dry and set up and get her bolted back in and see where this all lies and carry on. I'm going to try to grab some fittings, because where it tees here to the front of the tank, I need to have a barb fitting to go to the hose, because this is just a simple design here. So it's 3/8 hose from the return line and 3/8 from the fender tanks. So I'll get some barb fittings and we'll be able to get all this installed, because the original one came out of the bottom of the tank. It was a shut off with the normal O-ring. I call it like an olive style factory seal. I may do that and then hook the rubber hose to that, but I'll see what I come up with. And then also the water separator, I'm probably just going to bend a piece of brake line or use air brake line. Route that around the 3-speed. So let me let this set up and dry a little bit and I'll bring you back. Well, we got everything nice and dry. So I got some hardware here. I'm going to go ahead and put this firewall back in and see if we can't get this fuel tank in, hopefully where it can rest for a little bit. Oh, I need to put a cotter pin in here for my throttle linkage, so let me get you set up. Ooh, get this up here. Be nice not to have to put this in multiple times, which I already have done. Seems to be the custom way. If you're customizing something, you're going to do it over and over again. Oh, where'd my 18 go? Let's get an extension on there. Okay. Oh, that's good. Sheet metal takes the imbalance out of that. I also re-drilled because I had to stay out of the way. the bolt holes for my hoses. So I'll put those in place. Those should be far enough out of the way now. When I first drilled the holes for those, I did not have the fuel tank in place, where I had the clearances all figured out. Oh, bless your heart. There we go. I love dropping stuff. Excuse me. This could be a while. Need to get my ratchet ready. I do have these in electric, but air is convenient right now. Oh. Seems like everything falls right when you don't want it to. There we go. There we go. Oh, that took way more effort than it should have. Let's hope the one over there goes better. This was supposed to be the easy part. Come on. Got a hold of that one. There we go. That keeps it out of the way. It was up here. And then the ones up here are fine. They can go back in because the fuel tank stayed out of the way there. So grab those. Not going to be easily accessible in the future, but these are new hoses, so shouldn't be a big deal. So just to get an idea, that ran up here. Now you see what we're up against there. Simple design, but might not be the easiest to get to. I could have done a tack weld there. Would have been a good idea. But there's a good chance I still may end up taking this off again. Who knows? I have plenty of other projects I need to move on to, which I hope to share with you guys. Got it. Now let me see about bringing the fuel tank over. I also need to get a piece of fabric for there. And just because it's probably going to drip some, because I didn't get it all out of there, I'll put this down. Another thing to keep in mind is which way the front of the tank is. This thing likes to be a little finicky. Come on. This thing likes to be finicky up here. I haven't figured out what I don't like about this yet. There it is. It has some sort of safety on it that it doesn't like if it ain't perfect. There we go. Well, we're going down. Had some hiccups, but we're moving closer. Looks like we have plenty of diesel fuel remaining, which is fine. Every good project is gonna have a mess. So, looking over here, we're in place. Not sure about our position just yet. What I want to do is get a piece of fabric. I think I have fabric that I was going to put underneath that. Let me see if I can find it. Bring you right back. All right, got the strap out of the way so we can see. Basically, I got this fabric here that might even be older than the tractor, I don't know. So we have some fabric under the back, have it under here in the front. And actually, I was just looking. for any residual dripping, I will go ahead and put this under here. So I have to go to the hardware store and get the rest of the fittings that I want. So now let me see where we're at here. It's not too terribly far off from where I want to be, but I haven't pulled the... I could always do a little bit bigger shim in the front or the rear. If one of my brackets is lower, I have room to play. I'm going to put this front hood half on, which helps me hold the fuel tank cover where I want it. So I just put this on to help hold my place. Gives me an idea of where I end up. There we go. There's room for flex, which is how I want it. All right. Let me check on the back side here. This guy can move out of my way. Wonder how many things I could get this caught on. There. One fuel tank strap got caught. A little hard to see by myself there. There. Little manual persuasion. Well, we got it. All right. So now I'll pull the dash forward just a little bit. Brings it into position just about. It is a tight tolerance. I don't know how much you're getting of this, but It's nothing too crazy. Just need to have that on one. There we go. Tank still moves. It's a bonus, not too tight. So we got a pad underneath there. Excuse me. Yeah, like I said, it's tight. I think I might be able to shim the back up just a teeny bit more. Because we're about as far forward as we can get. And it could go up a skosh. That's all right. But it looks like it's going to work where I got it. If anything, it's a hair high in the front. That's okay with me. I got room to come out the top. I got to have just enough room to clear my hydraulic hoses in the front. And I'll check that now. And it's definitely what we call a tight fit. But it fits. All right, let me see about getting this held in place. And I'll get you at a better angle. Oh, I got the thing set in there and I'm trying to square it up a little bit. It's a tight fit. I got it set in all right. There's a couple things I'd have done differently, but overall it's not too bad. So, got my front strap here, got the rear strap over. I'm gonna get you in a position where I'll try putting the sheet metal on real quick before I really tighten this down. All right, I'm not sure how steady you are, but we shall see. So that's my air ratchet down here. That's nice. Put it right there. Okay. So just kind of looking at the tank, checking if it's roughly square, because like I said, it is a tight fit. They always are. Factory, it's kind of nice. So you know how tight your tolerances are. So just wedging it back just a little bit. I'm all right if it's not exactly where it needs to be. Basically what I mean by that is it's either going to have a grommet or it's not, but I can always cut and make a grommet work. All right. All right, we're still above. Power steering lines are still okay. These, although not a ton of room, are still okay. Because remember, they stay kind of centered because you're going to have sheet metal on that cover. There's sheet metal that piece of angle comes down and rests against the tank. I'll go ahead and put these fuel lines on. See if I left the tools out here. I said fuel lines, but I mean power steering. See if I can't get these. It's important to get these on before you put the strap. Which I've done before. All right, easy. Let's not drop anything down into the fuel tank, just for making things easy. We don't need to go fishing, although the success rate is high on retrieving whatever is necessary out of a fuel tank. Let's avoid it. Okay, got that going. So don't lose your caps. I'll do the sending unit in a minute. So, steering lines are where they were. So what I'll do, take this fuel cap off. I'll grab this cover. Oh yeah. Get your sending unit wire out of the way. Go around to the other side. I've had some comments about off-camera work, and it is really hard to get everything on camera, because then the video would just be way longer than it is. So, trying to show a little bit more of what I'm doing to satisfy some people. All right, so underneath here, you can't see it, but all there is two angled brackets that just rest on the fuel tank, and these lines are underneath it. I have to just move it out of the way real quick. You'll probably see the tank drop, or the cover drop. There, now it's resting on the tank like it would. And in my case, I don't have the exact factory fuel tank. I don't know if they were the same as a 2150 or not. I think they were very close. But either way, everything I have looks like it is going to work. These holes are all lined up. The only thing that I notice right now is around this hole for the fuel tank filler neck. It is just barely clearing. And I think I'm okay with that. I'm not going to go crazy because I can't actually move this fuel tank back anymore. Or as close as anybody wants to be. So I'm going to live with it. As long as it fits, it ships. So I actually think I have enough room to do my sending unit right now. So I think I'll leave this cover on for now. Now I'm going to tighten down and leave the fuel tank right where it's at. I'll take it back off because I have plumbing on the fuel system down below that I'd like to have it out of the way for. Actually, you guys will see there's room, but not a ton of room. Also, there's those brackets right there. So, overall, I'm happy with it. I have the tank as far back as I can go without actually cutting and modifying and shortening the tank. I was able to just do the grinding. So, I'm going to leave it at that. You could do whatever you want. Right now I'm adopting the keep it simple, stupid method, KISS method, and try to remain in the budget. So that's kind of the point of this, is to show with money we can do a ton of stuff, but this is the budget build, the absolute, what I would consider for the most part the minimum. It won't be the minimum because I'm doing pretty decent work for the exhaust and intake, but either way, to a degree, the budget saving process. It's definitely not cheap either way you look at it, and I still get on the Oliver page and like to watch all the comments on, oh, perfect, come and swap it. Yeah, you can. But then they still have to buy the tractor. But that's just my opinion. Hang on here. Grab a different ratchet. Wherever I put it. There we go. Once I get this back strap tightened, I'm going to basically tighten this strap here. I'll tighten down this strap. That's going to keep the tank where it's at, and I'm going to bring you right back. Alrighty. Fuel tank is strapped in. Got a zip tie here for when I'm done putting the sending unit in. But it is a tight fit, if I did not tell you. This is a tight fit. So, let's grab what has been sitting over here forever. Is a fuel sending unit. And I don't have one to copy. Because it was already gone. So for those of you that haven't seen it, this is what you get. Bag of goodies, which is usually new bolts with a little bit of thread sealant on them. I think they're stainless. I don't know if you guys can see it. It's got a little bit of sealant on it. And I'm not a big fan of Phillips screws. I'm going to stick with the Allen. Even though I like the name of the screws, Phillips. That's not biased in any way. I just in the past have had issues. Now I think if you want to use it, I would recommend verifying the thread pitch and running a tap down through the holes. But I like to use a nut driver. I don't let my tractors run real low on fuel anyway. This one is going to have a lot of fuel capacity with the fender tanks. So that being said, I don't think I'm too worried about the float being absolutely perfect. And don't forget, these are a certain shape. So you got to line the holes up. And just when you think you get it, you don't. There it is. But you have to put that on here first. At least it's easier. So you get to put this where you want it. It comes with instructions. And I always recommend checking it first. So hook it on. I think the picture shows the wire at the bottom. So I would get it in place, for instance, and then try it. Does taking it towards the top make it full, and then down is empty. So you would check that. Get these screws put in here. I kind of get an idea from the side of the tank. And actually, this is such a big tank, I might be pretty darn close where it needs to be right now. So I'm going to put one in. Take my fuel sending wire. Turn my power on. Turn the key on. I'll have to ground it. So there is empty. And there's full. So that'll work. Doesn't always go that well, but the more you mess with these, the more you get used to it. And I mess with them a lot. So, I don't know if you can see it. Typically, the wire going in the bottom sets this in the right position. So, you're also given some more of these, like what I call a Tinnerman nut. And that is what helps. Let me get this put in. So here's a little bit better close-up. So the sending unit is in. I did not need to do a dedicated ground on this one. I just reused my bolts. There's a rubber ring here. And then you can trim the bottom of the sending unit. These are all basically trimmed to fit. But it is good to go. That's how I'm going to leave my power steering lines. It's out of the way. This is the bottom of that sending unit that I cut off that you don't need, because you're not going to get it in until you cut the tail off. You have to cut the tail off of your universal sending unit or it won't go in the hole. Let's get my stand down here. So the tank is in. I'm going to put that fuel cap on there to keep that off of that. Fuel gauge is set up, which I will be putting fuel in this tank here shortly. Still have fuel in the fender tanks. For those of you who've been watching, that's what I've been running it off of. Now, you can kind of see the amount of room I have under here, which isn't terrible. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a ball valve, a 90-degree fitting, brass, and it's 3/8 NPT going into here, so that's what I'm going to do. I have plenty of fuel line because I was just, mocking this up. So I'm not lacking any fuel line. Get this over here. So what I'll do is I'm going to do a 90-degree fitting here, come out to a ball valve, then I'm going to go to a 3/8 barb where I'll go right into my fuel line. I'm going to run like Case does on their Magnums and stuff and skid loaders. I will run a 3270 fuel filter. And there is an in and an out. And then from the fuel filter, we'll go right to this lift pump. And then to the primary and secondary spin-on fuel filter. And then to the injection pump. So definitely we'll have some clean fuel. So let me get you set up. I'm going to get my parts ready. I'll bring you back. Well, I got me some pieces here. Got some hose clamps. Some of these probably are going to be too big. Got some brass fittings. Fuel filter, thread sealant, hose cutter. So basically I got a phone call and I was working while talking, but this is what I got so far. Got a 90-degree 3/8 NPT, which is a lot better fuel flow. Going into 3/8 NPT to a 3/8 ball fitting, and then I cut, go around to the other side. I cut the handle down on the ball valve. Make it easy to get in here. Got the glare of that light, there we go. So, nice easy ball valve, and I cut it shorter, smoothed out the handle, and put the rubber on it. Make it nice. I do have the water separator drain, which I'm going to do nylon tubing, like I mentioned prior. And I have the 3/8 barb now. So now I got a cut hose, and it is going to get tucked in and come under here, right over here to the lift pump. Let me get you set up here. So you haven't missed a whole lot. I'm going to start cutting off the other end of my extra hose here, because this still has to go up from the fender tanks, which we're going to go over how the fender tanks get plumbed in. Which was flowing fuel pretty good. So, depends on where I want my fuel filter too. Do I want to take sheet metal off, have it hidden? Do I want it to be right here under all the other filters? I think underneath here is fine. Let's see, I already had a piece of hose out. It might work perfect for that. Oh, this is an old piece of hose. Forget that. We're using the new hose. All new. So this one will go on. I want it to be fairly simple to do. Take hose cutters, lop it, follow the instructions in on the filter. Got it. Then we'll go from here. All right, I got the hose cut. Sorry, I had to take another phone call. Imagine that. And I kept working. So, got that hose cut, put the clamps on everything. Clamps are on. That is on the main supply. So, that has to come from your main tank right over through this fuel filter to the lift pump. Then, on Oliver's and White's, your fender tanks, which I've touched on other videos earlier in the Cummins part where I talk about the parts that are involved and where they're at on the fender tanks. They both tie in together and they come around the other side. And then I'm about to use this hose here, go around the other side, and it's going to come up, and it comes over to here, and I got this T ready. So I'm going to T right here to the tank. Sorry, camera. And man, some of these lights are got a good glare. T right here in the tank. And we have to have, for me, I needed a 3/8 barb because it comes from the injection pump, to return into the tank for the injectors. And then I'm going to have a T for the fender tanks. And this is where the fender tanks get plumbed in. They get plumbed in on the return side. So your tank has to be, I believe it's like at least 3/4 full. I always just fill the main tank up, open the valves on your fender tanks, and then basically then that's when you have to have a non-vented cap and vented caps, and in the correct order. And basically it creates a siphon, and it will empty your fender tanks first, and then eventually your main fuel tank, your fuel gauge will start moving, and that's when you need more fuel. It's a simple system, and it does work, and there are check valves down in each elbow of the tank, which I did touch base on this on earlier video, but I'll do a quick reminder. Search back. We have an elbow here, a fuel shutoff, and inside here is the check valve, which if you check out my earlier videos, you'll see where I go over that. So here's the left one and the right one. So I'm going to get you set up, and we'll start on the return line process. All right, got you set up here. I think there's a little bit of a glare, but we're going to try it anyway. So I'm going to see if I can make all this work. Thread this. I'm trying to see if it's going to work. I've got the shortest 90 degree. I go with these brass ones because if you use a street elbow, you end up hitting. But I think we're going to be okay. And you want this all to be sealed because it has to have a siphon. Not so much on the return from the injection pump, but for the fender tanks to work. There we go. Looks good. Get the elbows in here. You want to be careful when you put your wrench on these because you could crush this a little bit if you're really wrenching on it, and that'll mess up anything you try to put in it. So again, these are just all 1/4 inch NPT. Yeah, you guys, you can leave a comment, any questions you have on how this fuel system works with these fender tanks, but I did touch base on it in earlier videos. But I have not had a problem with fender tanks at all. Let me grab a wrench. fits it. Well, I got these pliers. It's not always a good way to get in here. A little bit of paper left on that. Take this one around one more time. All right. It's good on that one. I'm about there on this one already. This side seems to be worn a little bit. So it's already a little snug. So now we got our 90s. Now we'll take the straight 3/8 barb fittings, put some sealant on them, put those in here. Now you can kind of see how I was doing it. I'll get a towel and wipe off any excess sealant. Hopefully you can see this with the glare. Ouch, got me. Plenty of dope on there. As you can tell. Gets everywhere. It's kind of like anti-seize, kind of gets everywhere. So now I've kind of traced this, routed this return line where I'm somewhat happy with it. It definitely could be better, but I'm going to leave myself a little bit of extra room because I don't mind having a little bit of extra on here to work with. So cut it. That's going to go right here. Easy enough. And I'll probably do a clamp off the intake here to hold that. Now I need to route the other line from the fender tanks, and I'll bring you right back with that. Alrighty, getting the line routed up here. Kind of keeping it away from the exhaust. We'll see if I end up having any issues there. I think it'll be fine. Then this hose just turns, comes up to right here. I'm leaking fuel everywhere. Seems to be the MO. because it all had fuel in it before. And there we have it, the last final touch to the fuel system. Good Lord, that is snug fuel line. Oh, that's pretty good. Doesn't really want to go anymore, but we'll get it. That's good, it'll seal good. So there you go, I like how that looks. It's neat and clean. I'll get clamps on that. And I'm gonna bring you back for a test fire under its, for the first time, completed fuel system. So, looks pretty good. It's all routed here. And I'll put a hose clamp here, try to help hold that. That all looks nice, so we'll bring you back when we're ready to test fire. All right, let's give it a quick check here. Power on. Everything is set. The fuel system is now complete. I'm about to work on this last part of the deck here, because I'd like to be done with that. Sheet metal's on as much as it needs to be. See how this goes. I expect it to crank some. Checking my throttle linkage there, still doing good. That's the rear end pressure, and that is engine oil. And park brake works. Got all that working good. See what happens here. Oil pressure shut off. Rear end pressure light went off. I got oil pressure and tach. And fuel even came up a little bit. And we're charging. That is excellent. And it shuts off just fine with the key, so good. It's gonna get a little smoky in here. Better turn on my shop cleaner. Well, that worked out really well. System was primed. I had previously primed the pump until I heard fuel return into the tank, but turned out really nice. Everything looks good. So I am pretty happy with that. Now I'm going to take a quick peek at this side of the platform. As you can see, I need a straight line from here because there's like 3 different options of platforms. And the left side I don't have the correct left side, so I'm going to have to just trim a teeny bit off. And I need a straight line all the way down. Well, you get to this platform back here and it's no longer in line with it. So I think I'm going to have to trim that. As bad as that hurts to do. Andy's nice paint job, but I can can adjust it. So let me do some measuring and I'll bring you back. All right, try to explain this easy as possible. I loosened up the back one and had a little bit of more play that shot over. These were just plates that I had laying around to make this floor work. So like this is from a tractor, this is from a tractor, and they don't always, go together. Copacetic, there are, ideally they're spec, but. So anyway, moving this over, I think I have a little bit of room. I think what we're going to see is a slight gap when I'm all done, but that's fine as long as it's not clear through. So I want to cut on this as little as possible, but basically The original dash, just to briefly touch base, if someone hasn't seen a previous video, the original G1355 dash would have been one piece. Dash comes down and then it has these floor plate arms or beams that go to the back. That dash was damaged and destroyed. So this is a dash off of a 2150 white, where it just sits on a pedestal up here in the front and would have had a different plate because of the cab. Well, then you get into the book, and if you do a non-cab model, there's a couple variations. The one that I told you that's one piece. Then there's the cab variation, and then there's this variation where this is your mount, and it bolts on one side, and the dash bolts to this. And then it has a plate here to go around your suction of the hydraulic. Okay, then on the other side, that right-hand platform, so this is the left, the right-hand platform, it's all built in, and it has the support for the platform built into it. And that is the right side. So this is a really heavy right. This isn't just a sheet metal cover. It has the frame built into it. And the bolt holes for the dash, it has a cutout and a relief here that the dash sets into this and bolts into that. So that would be the right side, and the left side would be a cover. But see how it's cut out on this side to allow the dash to set down? I have the wrong left side cover, which I did not catch. And you can see it would be covering up the bolts. So I have to cut out that opening to allow for the bolts. So that's what I'm about to do. Well, I put a little bit of tape down to help protect it, and I drew a line, and well, I stayed close to it. So I'm going to go check, see how it fits. Let me get you in a place where we can see. Well, it looks like it's fitting pretty good. It'll set down there. I'll have a slight gap here like I was talking about, but it's still metal there. And then I need to trim this panel just a teeny bit. We're just about there. And that'll work good enough for me. Get that bolted down. So let me get that adjusted and I'll bring you back. Well, we'll see how she's adjusted now. I think what we saw before and what we'll see now should be much better. And I still have to put my non-stick grip tape on here. Or I'm sorry, it is grip tape. You want it to stick. Sorry. Let's see here. I have a lot better lines right now, but I expect that to change just a little bit because I'm going to put a bolt here. Which, if it was anywhere near in the way, I wouldn't use a regular bolt. Alright, so that one still lines up. So now we'll go ahead and grab the side plate. Which I've been wanting to put this on for a while. Oh, look at that. That is going to work just fine for me. So put this bolt in here because I put a washer on it to help hold. And I've been using these. I like the pan head washers, bolts with these are more like the factory bolts here. It's basically just a big flat blade pan looking head. That's what I like. I use that on, I'll show you, use that on all the sheet metal. And does a good job for me. So put a screw back here on the floor, screw here. It's my preference. I keep them in stock and I like the look. I don't like a bolt on there. Okay. What else do we need? This is a stud, need a bolt. So we'll get bolts in that. And now all I do is secure that down, and I think the finished product looks really nice. And then I'll come in here with that grip tape. And this cover has the ability to cover up the hydraulic. I might end up buying it and modifying it to cover this up. Maybe I'll look for a used one, but they're made new. So I might get it and then trim it to where it goes around this step. I think that might be a good idea. We'll see. Just kind of looks good when it's all covered up. Pain in the butt when you need it to gain access. But and then on the sheet metal, this is what I'm talking about. I just use these on everything. I think it looks good. So that's just my preference. Very happy with the progress being made. We are real close to starting on the exhaust and the intake. Should be less than a month. Excuse me. But being a little under the weather, this is that time of the year everybody's struggling. Or if you do get sick, it seems to drag on. But let me get some things cleaned up. I'll get all these fasteners tightened down. And I think that about does it for now. So for those of you who've been sticking it through and watching, I appreciate it. We're not done yet. But if you haven't seen this before, check out my earlier videos. There's many. I think this might be my 8th video or 9, I can't remember, on the Cummins project, but there was lots to do and lots to go. And then we'll see at the end kind of what this cost. So we'll catch you guys on the next one, and if you haven't already, hit that like and subscribe. We'll see you.